Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to Pan-African News at 12 on our channel Pan-African Television. You're also streaming live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. My name is Maxwell, Woyram, Tsigbe. Now, coming up in our headlines this afternoon, government committed to removing child beggars and street children from the streets, says Gender Minister. George Floyd's killing commit more to end racism, says Okujeto Ablakwa. Now, Central African Republic court says polls must hold despite COVID-19. We have details of all these stories, including other stories as well. Do stay with us. We are back shortly with the details. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now let's head straight into the details of our headline this afternoon. On the first story on the local front, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Cynthia Mamle Morrison, has expressed worry about high prevalence of child beggars and street children in the country. Now, speaking on the floor of Parliament, the Agona West legislator revealed what has accounted for the menace and measures her ministry has rolled out to address the problem.
Mr. Speaker, to address the issue, the ministry has since 2017 initiated programs dubbed Operation Get the Children Off the Street for a Better Life. This program seeks to withdraw children from the streets, reintegrate them with their families, and assist those of school-going age to go back to school, others to learn vocational skills through attachment as apprentices in their trade of choice. The ministry is doing this, has been collaborating with the officers of the National Security. Children begging and other street persons were taken up from our ceremonial street, right from the National Theatre through the 37 Military Hospital, Opebia Airport to the Ghana Standards Authority. These children were sent to the Social Welfare Center in Medina, where some were reintegrated back to their families. Others opted to learn a trade, while others were sent to the normal school. Mr. Speaker, since 2018, when I took office as the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, I personally took part in the rescue of children from the streets at Kwame Nkrumah Circle through to Kaneshi with the support of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly Task Force. Most of the rescued children were Nigerians who were used by their parents as the frontline beggars. They have since been sent back to Niger embassy and repatriated to their homeland. In addition, at the midnight of 25th of December 2018, I led a team to rescue children on the streets around the Marina Mall and Opebia area who were sent to the Social Welfare Center at Medina. So far, data has been collated on over 4,809 children on the streets of Accra. 21 of them who are nationals from Niger have been repatriated back to their homeland. Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate challenge is that some of these children continue to reappear on the streets. However, together with the national security, we are engaging with more stakeholders to develop and implement a more suitable strategy for permanent addressing of it. Mr. Speaker, it is important to continue to strengthen the social welfare program that provide preventive and responsive child protection services. And please permit me to state that the Nana Akufo-Addo administration will continue to place emphasis on the implementation of strategies and programs to reduce poverty and vulnerability. A caring and inclusive society does not tolerate marginalization and exclusion of the poor and vulnerable groups, which include children begging on the street. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Still on the local front, Member of Parliament for North Thorn constituency, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, has reminded humanity to commit more to end the war against racial injustice. Now, in an emotional statement, the lawmaker, who doubles as a ranking member on the Committee of Foreign Affairs of Parliament, announced the killing of George Floyd, whose death has resulted in protests across the globe.
I'm most grateful to you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to make this rather difficult and traumatic statement. On the 25th of May 2020, a day we on this continent observed as Africa Day, a fellow unarmed African American known as George Floyd was pinned to the ground by police officer Derek Chauvin, who pressed his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds until he became unconscious and died. The gruesome and extremely painful murder, which was carried out in broad daylight, was captured on camera. The horrific video, which will rank amongst the most despicable footage the world has ever seen, came with the last words of, quote, "I can't breathe," unquote. From a dying Mr. Floyd. Those distressing and extremely agonizing circumstances are forever etched in our memories. Mr. Speaker, the awful and depressing killing of Mr. Floyd must be condemned in the strongest possible terms and with all the force this august House can muster. This traumatic episode, Mr. Speaker, serves as a chilling reminder that the war against racism has not been won. Mr. Speaker, the harrowing and shocking killing of Mr. George Floyd has sparked protests in many states in the United States of America and an impressive number of countries around the world. It is absolutely remarkable to observe that despite grappling with the highly contagious COVID-19 pandemic, which demands physical distancing to minimize the risk of infection, many have defied the pandemic and poured out in their thousands in countries such as Germany, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, France, Liberia, Brazil, Iran, Canada, Denmark, Kenya, Netherlands, South Africa, and Mexico to register their revulsion and outrage at what happened in Minneapolis.
Away from that, Zoomlion Ghana Limited, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group of companies, has begun the disinfection exercise of military installations in Kumasi. Now, 8 establishments and 3,000 structures are said to benefit from the project.
At the launch to commence the project at the 4th Infantry Battalion headquarters in Kumasi, GOC of the Central Command, Brigadier Joseph Afo, applauded both the government and Zoomlion Company Limited for the kind gesture. According to him, there is a need to protect and safeguard the lives of personnel during the COVID-19 era. He emphasized that all the 4 garrisons in the region, offices of the Ghana Armed Forces, will be disinfected, and added that no military personnel in the region attracted the infection of the coronavirus during the lockdown in discharging their duties.
The Ghana Armed Forces are obligated to ensure that they are made safe for use. It is in view of this reason that the Chief of Defence Staff, the Ghana Armed Forces, conveyed his approval the Zoomlion Ghana Limited to undertake a nationwide fumigation across military offices, ships, aircraft, and barracks. Pursuant to the above mentioned situation, Zoomlion Ashanti, that's east and west in Kumasi here, we are told, and we have actually conducted a thorough inspection of all the facilities in 4 garrison. Hence, the possible or the purpose of today's or this morning's gathering, where we will be launching and there will be a kick start of the exercise where all military institutions.
The general manager of Zoom Lion in the Ashanti region, Philip Yebua, who led the team, says all the 8 military installations and the 3,000 structures will be done in less than a week. He confirmed that the exercise is a nationwide project to fumigate and disinfect all garrison facilities across the region. Apart from these, he noted other educational facilities will also be disinfected before schools reopen. According to him, all this forms part of the company's gesture to protect the lives of individuals in the country.
Disinfect all the military installations in the country, and this was to launch the disinfection in the Ashanti region. We're going to fumigate and disinfect all military installations in the Ashanti region. We have details with the military high command, and we have agreed that after the launch we will start the actual disinfection from next week. So basically, that is what is going on. Let's say around 8,000, right? 800. Chess, the structures is about 3,000.
So it means
their homes, their offices, all the structures and installations that found within the garrison.
Now, about 100.10 grams of whitish substance suspected to be high-valued cocaine, which was confiscated by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority at the Kpogu border post in the Ketu South municipality, is missing. Now, according to the Narcotics Control Board, the substance, together with an amount, got missing in the process.
The whitish substance was in the custody of the Customs Division at the Aflau border post, but later transported to the headquarters of the Customs Division in Accra. Francis Tokuno, Director General of the Narcotic Control Board, NACOB, explained that his officers impounded a vehicle that had concealed the substances under its fuel tank on Friday, June 5, 2020. The narcotic substance and $200,000 cash was in a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado vehicle with a Nigerian registration number LSR 815FV, which was crossing into Ghana from Togo. According to him, some of the substances were allegedly detected missing on Sunday, June 7, 2020, when the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, invited all agencies at the border post to verify the exhibit the narcotic officers left in the custody of Customs on Friday. The inspection was, however, to be done before the scheduled escort to the headquarters of the Ghana Revenue Authority in Accra. The NACOB boss indicated that the narcotics officers had protested that the substances per the Narcotics Control Commission Act were to be left in the custody of narcotics officers whilst investigations were being done, but the customs officers ignored the advice and insisted they would keep the aforementioned items in their custody and later transported to their headquarters in Accra. He recounted that the verification exercise revealed that parcel H, 100.10 gram of whitish substance wrapped in transparent polythene, suspected to be cocaine, was missing.
So, on the local front, the Electoral Commission has expressed concern about the continuous use of a logo it discarded about 2 years ago by some media houses. Now, this was contained in a statement issued on June 11, 2020 and signed by its Acting Director of Public Affairs, Sylvia Ano.
The statement described the current logo of the Commission with an attached image of how the original one looks like to drum home the EC's point. On December 4, 2018, the Commission unanimously decided to revert to the original logo of the institution. The original logo reflects the coat of arms of Ghana with a ballot box at the center. It also depicts a hand casting its votes. The logo the EC is asking the media to stop using was the controversial one introduced by the former chairperson Charlotte Osei.
Still on the local front, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has met with the vice chancellors of private and public universities at the Jubilee House. Now, in an address, he revealed that his next line of action will depend on the outcome of the resumption of lectures by institutions that are in the higher academic ladder in the country.
Education and the educational institutions have to be highly prioritized in the way in which they function. So yes, we have to go forward. In Ghana, we have examples, very painful examples, of what happened to generations of Ghanaians whose educations were interrupted, sometimes by purely political events, not by pandemics, but by political events. And it's taken a long time for those who are the victims of this political intervention in the lives of our educational system to recover, and for our system to recover. If there's any way we can prevent this generation also suffering in their evolution from the pandemic, we should do so. And that is the basis for this decision we have taken, that as from Monday, we have a limited reopening of the universities so that those who have to take their exams are given the opportunity to prepare to do so and go ahead and do so.
We, the Vice Chancellors of Ghana, are very grateful for this opportunity to interact with you and your team at this very high office of the presidency. You gave an order, that was a presidential order, that universities should open on the 15th of June. I think somewhere last week, some of the media carried news, and I'm sure probably some might have gotten to you, that some universities have defied the president's orders and are unwilling to reopen. Mr. President, let me assure you.
If you're just tuning in, you're live on Pan-African News at 12 on our channel Pan-African Television. You're going for a short breather. We return shortly. Do stay with us.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Na jauti kai mu da do dukresi wa se won timiensi
make me sis me sire why na me yifa na teche we e dai malaria din ya chisa
e da kan akoma 2 years so no dan proke herba mister osisi mbadu se from oyire nso doctor ka chene se o malaria mo ani bi oni pedue mu a so no dank antima x yare malaria e be kokra obi wo hono ma ne yem ye ne yanso a So nom dank gastro care herbal mixture on beton. Dank phyto care herbal mixture. Cocoa ebeye hu adwuma ma. Wapon waposo tutu dank extra herbal mixture. Obenya hu den ne watimi anante. Make a food dank no nyina e de amamo.
Na ebenya drain nya bi we.
Pharmacy shop and a herbal shop also per dank no a ye be ma obi.
Ba chomo number ye say
0266 593330.
Enroi oba penfo oba ma akora nufo anya akora woni mfie du mienu ntime no. FDA ahwehwe saa edwadie nkrato mu agya atom se eye.
Breakfast a day, every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Has varieties of herbal products for your dreadlocks and natural hair.
I am Cash Crown Salon. Now, keeping natural hair with dreadlocks, no idea when you make a boma, meno. Now, you who sushi and I say maintenance and a lack of knowledge, no, and I'm the air me taika, a brofo, and a bruni, a low, a blowfree to pollute our natural hair with the harsh, dangerous chemicals. In Tasam, we are you tina.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now to the rest of our local stories. Now, contrary to what Ghanaians have described as a shambolic performance in the country's fight against the outbreak of coronavirus in the country, the Ghanaian educationist has argued otherwise. Now, according to the founder of Gate Institute, Anis Hafa, the Akufo-Addo-led administration has exceeded expectations with regards to his actions and decisions in the period of the global health crisis.
COVID took everybody by surprise, you know, and I'm proud in Ghana that we've done the best that we can. It will never be sufficient, but it's enough to get us started. So back to your question again, I think the education is there, but again, it has to be ongoing. We don't want to become aloof and think that we solved the problem. We have not. This virus is going to live with us, you know, but again, like you guys came in, those sanitizers to wash your hands and that sort of thing. So this is why we have to continue. And again, it will force us to be hygienic, but we can't let our guards down, especially at home. Because kids spend more time at home, you know. So there's an opportunity for us to clean our act. I mean, frankly, I've been under quarantine myself for months, but it's forced me to clean my own environment. Things tend to be dusty here in the tropics, you know, so it's up to us to gain that we begin to clean our environments, because that's where we live, you know, especially the schools.
Further reiterated that the virus has exposed Ghana completely in terms of our sanitary conditions, and it is time to rise up and work.
But how are we managing the country in terms of our hygienic conditions? You know, we talk about hygiene all the time. Where our sanitary conditions, where we seem to defecate everywhere, we throw trash everywhere, and so on. We burn, we cut trees, we are burning bushes and so on. The question is this how we want to live our lives? Now, these have always been prevailing questions, but COVID has now exposed us, unfortunately, to begin to now accept who we are, what we've been doing in the past, that are not kosher, and how we can do things going forward. So there's an opportunity, you know. Crises offer opportunities that we cannot continue doing the same thing the same way in the past and expect a different result. How do we now begin to package ourselves, you know? So back to your question again, this is the time where school leaders have to be very alert. And I've also spoken about how we even begin to choose leaders for schools. In the past, a person is a very good mathematics teacher, he's been taught for 10 years, or someone is a very good social studies teacher, he's been teaching for 10 years, and suddenly we make them heads. Being the head of a school takes a different kind of managerial approach, different from an approach in a classroom. So again, what COVID is also trying to get us to understand is how we raise a caliber of school leaders, starting from the very basics. You know, these are the times where we have to regroup and realize the potential that this country has. This country has a far greater potential than what it is that we see now.
Now, as part of precautionary measures to stem the spread of the coronavirus disease, the Sunyani Municipal Assembly has set up clinics in marketplaces in the municipality to attend to suspected cases of the disease. Accordingly, the city authorities have engaged health workers at the clinics in the 4 satellite or temporary markets they have created purposely to control human congestion and to protect traders and buyers from contaminating or contracting the dreaded virus.
Traders at the Sunyani Coronation Park, Jubilee Park, Sunyani Main Market, and those around the Twene Amanfo Senior High and the Technical School in the Central Business District lauded the initiative taken by the Assembly and hoped it will be sustained. During a market survey conducted, health workers were provided with thermometer guns to check the body temperature of the market women and buyers. Majority of them were wearing nose masks, observing social distancing, while the Sunyani Municipal COVID-19 Prevention Task Force was sighted patrolling the various markets. Led by Superintendent Haruna Al-Hassan of the Ghana Immigration Service, the Assembly set up the task force to enforce and ensure that particularly commercial drivers, traders, and driving and drinking bar and restaurant operators in the municipality would strictly adhere to preventive measures and government restrictions on the COVID-19. In an interview, Justina Owusu Banahene, the Sunyani Municipal Chief Executive, noted that COVID-19 had come to stay, and it was the responsibility of the Assembly to ensure that the municipality was safe for the people. She observed that public places such as lorry stations and markets were high-risk areas, saying the Assembly would set up such clinics in all public places in the city. Madam Owusu Banahene said the health workers engaged at the clinics provided first aid, screening and COVID-19 education to the traders and advised them to continue washing their hands with soap and running water, use hand sanitizers frequently, and avoid handshake. She emphasized that Nanabosoma Market was still shut down and it would be open for market activities as and when necessary, and reminded that wearing of nose masks was compulsory in the municipality. The MCE said the Assembly had engaged tailors and seamstresses to sew quantities of nose masks for continuous distribution to the masses and protect the public from infection.
Now let's move away from Ghana and head to other African countries where Zimbabwe's National Security Council has rejected media reports of an impending coup. Allies of the late former president Robert Mugabe and some opposition officials were accused of peddling such reports, but the country's security officials say there is no such truth in the rumors and that the country is stable.
During a press briefing, Tsigbe, the Home Affairs Minister in charge of the police and an NSC member, told reporters that for the avoidance of doubt, there is no coup in the making. Zimbabwean officials also accused some foreign governments of relying on the opposition and former ruling party officials for intelligence gathering. Tsigbe said they also have in the process brazenly jettisoned any semblance of diplomatic impartiality and feignings in blatant violation of the peremptory norms of international law. President Emmerson Mnangagwa was first ushered into office after late leader Robert Mugabe resigned following a military takeover. He subsequently won an election held in 2018, but he has since struggled to revive the country's economy, with citizens struggling to live comfortably.
Away from that, Egypt's Information Minister Osama Hikal has said in a bid to slow the spread of COVID-19 in the country, they will extend a high-time curfew by a further 2 weeks due to the rise in infections.
Working hours for shops will be until 6 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. The minister added that tourism and flights to coastal cities with the lowest infection levels will be restarted from July. It is not clear when flights to the capital, Cairo, would resume. Hikal also said the government will look into reopening places of worship and cities with low infections starting next month. Since March, authorities have halted air traffic, shuttered schools, and closed tourist and religious sites to slow the spread of the virus among Egypt's 100 million people. The Health Ministry has so far recorded 1,342 deaths out of 38,228 confirmed cases. Since late last month, it has been reporting more than 1,000 new cases a day. The government has been seeking to gradually loosen lockdown measures, allowing hotels to partially reopen and resuming some public services it had suspended. Last month, Egypt's Doctors Union warned that a major COVID-19 outbreak could trigger a complete collapse of the country's health system.
Finally, there will be no extension of the presidential mandate under the cover of coronavirus in the Central African Republic. Now, this was the final verdict issued by the Constitutional Court in Bangui, ending a wrangle between the ruling party and the opposition last week.
Had intended to continue on its mandate due to the prevailing coronavirus outbreak, arguing that the country will not be ready to hold an election by the end of the year. The judges, on the other hand, maintain the rule of law must prevail. The country's constitution has explicit clauses that prohibit changing the presidential term. One such is Article 3.5, which states that under no circumstance can the presidential mandate be modified for any reason whatsoever. Despite the prohibition, in a country plagued by chronic insecurity, the decision by the Constitutional Court led to varied opinions from the public. The ruling party had initially tabled the bill in the National Assembly, a motion strongly criticized by the opposition. In the aftermath of the verdict, the Parliament Speaker agreed to uphold the decision in the Parliament. Despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the Electoral Commission is required to organize a general election by December 27 this year.
Coming up is business. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, in the world of business this afternoon, Parliament has approved a request to waive domestic value added tax VAT totaling $3.1 million on local purchases and services in the rehabilitation and upgrading of equipment in technical universities, polytechnics, and technical and vocational training centers. Now, the request for the VAT exemption complies with the concessional loan agreement between the government of Ghana and the Export-Import Bank of China.
These, together with interest payments of other countries, will contribute to Sub-Saharan Africa's external debt service bill, hitting $6.6 billion this year to finance the Institute of International. Ghana is expected to spend about 23 billion Ghana cedis on interest payments by the end of December 2020. Unlike richer countries that can afford to inject capital into the economies, African governments need to take on more expensive debt to deal with the economic fallout from the pandemic. Liberia's former Minister of Public Works and Senior Fellow at the Center for Global Development, Goodmure, disclosed in an interview that the cost of servicing the debt and the debt overhang will make a recovery difficult.
In business, government will spend more on debt than infrastructure, health or education this year, according to the European Network on Debt and Development. Now, Ghana's interest payments in the first 4 months of this year are also the highest since at least 2016.
Dr. Mark Asibeye-Pua, chairman of the Finance Committee, who presented the committee's report on the floor Parliament, indicated that Parliament had in July 2018 approved a resolution, the supplementary contract agreement as well as the commercial contract between the Government of Ghana, acting through the Ministry of Education, and AVEC International Holding Corporation of China for the implementation of the project. Following that, the House on April 5, 2019 approved by the resolution the request for the waiver of import duties, VAT, GET Fund, Import NHIL, Special Imports Levy, Exim Levy, AU and ECOWAS levies amounting to $26,966.83 on project materials and equipment to be procured under the Polytechnic, Technical and Vocational Training Centers upgrading project. He said the resolution for the tax exemption approved by Parliament covered only imports contrary to Clause 2 of the Supplementary Number 1 of a Commercial Contract Agreement. Dr. Asibeye-Pua added that the President request thus seeks to include domestic VAT on local purchases and services in the taxes to be waived in connection with the project. The chairman of the Finance Committee also stated that the project aims to rehabilitate and upgrade the facilities and equipment of technical universities, polytechnics, and technical and vocational training centers in Ghana. The goal of the project is to improve the employability of Ghanaian youth by providing them with the relevant skills and competences required for self and formal employment. Dr. Asibeye-Pua further noted that the committee thoroughly considered the request and finds the approval to be necessary for the timely and smooth implementation of the project.
Coming up is our stories from our international partners, People's Dispatch. Do stay with us. We are back shortly. Thanks for staying tuned. Now let's head straight to the international front. Now on June 10, the Communist Party of Luxembourg, KPL, has accused that the government in the country is abusing the emergency powers mandated to handle the COVID-19 crisis. Now the government has threatened a military takeover of the Sidos intermunicipal waste recycling plant in Lezongeda, when the plant authorities refused to dispose of medical waste which they are not authorized to handle.
The plant management was concerned about the safety of the workers and they did not have a permit to handle the hospital's specific waste. KPL has stated that the threat of the army takeover shocked many and shows how easily the state of emergency can be used to take military coercive measures and produce small dictators at lightning speed. The plant in Sidor is maintained to incinerate household waste from the municipalities in strict compliance with European standards in force, particularly with regards to gaseous emissions, and to spread information and public awareness regarding the problem of waste. But here, the authorities have coerced the plant management to incinerate hazardous waste from the 4 medical care centers in Luxembourg City. Meanwhile, in protest against the NATO Secretary General's calls for the members of the War Alliance to comply with a 2% target in military spending, That too, in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, KPL has given a call to join a march for peace hosted by the OGBL syndicate at Ex-Alzes on June 20.
Still on the international front, on June 10, Wednesday, the Communist youth in Finland, Communist Nure, has condemned the proposal to remove Soviet Finland Friendship Monument in Helsinki. On June 9, Mikko Kana, MP from the Centre Party, made a proposal to remove the Hakenime World Peace Statue in Helsinki and Friendship of Peoples Monument in Itäkeskus.
Communist Nueret has issued a statement on Wednesday protesting Mr. Kane's proposal that called the progressive sections in the country to protect the monuments. World Peace statue made by Oleg Kejuhin was unveiled in Hakaniemi, Helsinki on January 14, 1990 and was a gift from the Moscow city to Helsinki as part of friendship and cultural exchange program. The artwork was made by Oleg Kejuhin. Monument to the friendship of the peoples at Itäkeskus was sculpted by Antti Novenen in 1983 to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Finno-Soviet Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation and Mutual Assistance. In their statement, Communist Nuere has stated that the proposed monuments represent not only the city's historical stages and relations abroad, but also, as its name implies, peace and friendship. Friendship of peoples and world peace. Every effort must be made to protect these ideas in our modern world against fighter warlords and national defense rights. Kane's initiative is a symbolic attack on peace and solidarity. We do not accept his policy on a practical or symbolic level. The attack of these monuments must be repelled by all possible means. The cityscape of Helsinki must also include images other than those bourgeoisie and the great men of warriors. Although dissenting opinions and ideas offend and bring tears to the eyes of bourgeois Kana and his friends, we refuse to give up images of our ideas. While the friendship of peoples greatly offends the lawmakers of big business, we do not see it as a valid reason to remove monuments, read the statement. Mr. Kana's proposal was viewed as part of the ongoing anti-communist campaign across the right wing with the pent support of the European Union. In his proposal, Kana also tried to equate communism to Nazism and called out the Helsinki mayor and the city council to sell the two monuments to private collectors or melted into metal ingots and donate the proceeds to work against extremism. In response to Kana's tirades, Communist Noire has reposted that in the case of a fundraising by selling statues as scrap metal to increase the city in Helsinki's cafes, it's better to scrap and melt the statues of white warlords and servants of the capital in the city.
Credit to People's Dispatch for those international stories. Coming up is sport. Do stay with us.